Get ready for the dictation on the count of 3, 2, 1, start. Hindu Rashtra is a concept that refers to the idea of a nation state that is defined by its Hindu identity and culture. The term Rashtra means nation in Sanskrit, while Hindu refers to people who follow Hinduism. The idea of Hindu Rashtra has been advocated by certain right-wing Hindu nationalist groups in India who believe that India should be a Hindu-majority country and that Hinduism should be the dominant culture and way of life. They argue that India's secularism has led to a dilution of Hindu identity and culture, and that a Hindu Rashtra would protect and preserve these values. Critics of the concept of Hindu Rashtra argue that it is exclusionary and discriminatory and that it goes against the principles of India's constitution, which guarantees equality and freedom of religion to all its citizens. They also argue that India's diversity is one of its strengths and that a Hindu Rashtra would undermine this diversity by privileging one religion over others. It is important to note that the concept of Hindu Rashtra is a controversial and contested one, and there is no consensus on what it means or whether it is a desirable goal for India. The concept of Hindu Rashtra is a highly debated and contentious issue in India with strong opinions on both sides of the argument. Supporters of the idea believe that India is a Hindu country at its core and that the country's identity and culture should reflect this. They argue that Hinduism is an integral part of India's history, traditions, and heritage, and that it should be given priority over other religions and cultures. Advocates of Hindu Rashtra often cite historical events and figures to support their claims. They argue that India was a Hindu country before it was colonized by the British and that Hinduism has been the dominant religion and culture throughout most of India's history. They also point to the contributions of Hindu leaders and thinkers such as Swami Vivekananda and Mahatma Gandhi, who emphasized the importance of Hindu values and spirituality. However, critics of the concept of Hindu Rashtra argue that it is a narrow and exclusionary vision that goes against the principles of India's constitution. They point out that India is a diverse country with many different religions, cultures, and traditions, and that it is important to respect and protect this diversity. They argue that a Hindu Rashtra would create a hierarchy of religions with Hinduism at the top and would discriminate against minorities such as Muslims, Christians, and Sikhs. Critics also point out that the idea of Hindu Rashtra is closely associated with right-wing Hindu nationalist groups such as the Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh (RSS) and the Bharatiya Janata Party (BJP), which have been accused of promoting a divisive and discriminatory agenda. They argue that these groups are attempting to rewrite India's history and suppress dissent, and that they are using the idea of Hindu Rashtra to create a Hindu supremacist state. Despite the controversy surrounding the concept of Hindu Rashtra, it has gained significant popularity in recent years, especially among young Hindus. Many young people feel that India's secularism has failed to address issues of corruption, poverty, and social inequality, and they see Hindu Rashtra as a way to restore national pride and identity. Some also see it as a way to counter the perceived threat of Islamic extremism, which has been on the rise in India and other parts of the world. The idea of Hindu Rashtra has also been influenced by global trends such as the rise of nationalism and the decline of liberal democracy. Many countries around the world are experiencing a resurgence of nationalism and populism fueled by economic and social grievances as well as concerns over immigration and globalization. India is no exception, and the concept of Hindu Rashtra can be seen as part of a wider trend towards nationalistic and authoritarian politics. However, it is important to recognize that the idea of Hindu Rashtra is not a monolithic or homogeneous concept. There are many different interpretations of what it means and how it should be implemented. Some advocates of Hindu Rashtra see it as a way to promote social and economic justice, while others see it as a way to protect Hindu culture and identity. Some believe in a pluralistic and inclusive version of Hindu Rashtra, while others see it as a strictly Hindu state. In conclusion, the concept of Hindu Rashtra is a complex and contested issue in India with strong arguments on both sides of the debate. While some see it as a way to restore national identity and pride, others see it as a divisive and discriminatory vision that goes against the principles of India's constitution. Ultimately, the future of Hindu Rashtra will depend on how it is interpreted and implemented, and whether it is able to address the many challenges facing India today.